Welcome to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. It is a beautiful Monday morning, and we're live and local and ready to get things kicked off on this beautiful Monday morning. I'm Martin Houston, and this is the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama Sports Tide 100.9. Remember the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team. Give us a call at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value under the biggest cactus in town. Also, give us a like and a follow at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter, at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. Or follow us, Martin Houston Live on Facebook. We invite you to be a part of the conversation. We got a great show lined up for you, but before we get into the conversation, reminding you that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. All right, let's talk a little bit about Nick Saban from the weekend. I was out on Friday. I want to thank Kendall and team for stepping in and doing a great job on Friday. Couple things as I listened to the program that I disagreed with. One, of course, with Kendall and the Aaron Rodgers conversation. He kind of said that the Green Bay Packers have not helped Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that Aaron Rodgers is part of the problem, and he made a good argument, but I still disagree with it. And then, of course, there were some discussions that Texas A&M may be the one that takes down Alabama, and we'll talk about that as Jimbo Fisher has made thrown down the gauntlet. And if you're a Texas A&M fan, is that what you want? You want to hear your guy Jimbo Fisher talking smack, or was he talking smack, or just saying what he needed to say for his program in the moment in the season when asked, short of Nick Saban leaving the program, what will it take? And of course, Nick Saban having a classic response as only Nick Saban can do. Well, we can talk about that as well. And then, of course, big news dropping this weekend as Alabama picks up yet another piece to their 2021 class, maybe, or he may be a part of 2022. Does Henry Tua is a former all SEC linebacker from the Tennessee Volunteers. Does his commitment mean that he's gotten inside word on the SEC, or does it mean that he has decided that Alabama is his best ticket to the next level, even if he has to sit out a year? We'll have that conversation as well. We love to invite you in on it once again. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, 205-342-9904. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
Doing great today, Martin. Having a good Monday. Get started on a new week. How about yourself? How long weekend?
It was good. It was a busy weekend. I don't really know what taking a day off means, but it was a good day to get some things done. So that part of the weekend was very, very good. So glad to be back at them, and Alabama getting big news. Let's see if we can bring Pat in this morning, and I'll come back to you and ask your thoughts on a couple of the things I just mentioned as well. But Pat, you're on the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, man? Yeah. Well, I mean, he said he gonna let them make that decision or whether the rich gets richer, but um, he did say that he felt like the really good players would from non-competitive teams would find themselves funneled to the competitive teams, and other players would leave the really competitive teams and go to some of these other teams. And we've already seen that. I don't know that you don't call Ohio State competitive, but the Tennessee situation really speaks to it. But it shows you just how powerful um, an opportunity to play for championships is, because the Ohio State, thing, both of these kids, and the thing about this, neither one of these kids went into the transfer portal, Pat, to just transfer. They both went in to come to Alabama. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like there's kids in the
Absolutely. And see, and there's the thing, they talk about with this portal, about kids getting into this portal. Oh, about that, how long they'll be in the portal before they can actually go to another team. I mean, because hey, if somebody behind the scenes saying, hey, you come here, oh, we can do this, it's it's a scary situation. You and I talked about earlier, when I was talking about this thing, the wild, wild west. Hey, it's definitely gonna become the wild, wild west. I don't see how any other answer to it other than that.
Hey, Joe, let me ask Joe a question. Pat, you may know this. When was the deadline to transfer? Was it not May 1st?
Yes, sir.
So is Tua coming to Alabama to sit out this year?
No, no, no. The deadline to transfer was not like first. That had to do with a class at there in Tennessee about staying about or going in. Oh, excuse me, going to Ohio State and being
No,
able
no,
to.
no, no, no. The NCAA has a deadline, and I thought for the fall sports, I thought it was May 1st, or was it the end of May?
Hey, they
But
may lie about that because all I know is it had something to do with Ohio State about a class
no,
being
no, you're talking. We're talking about two different things. There was an interim block that if he was going to be in the interim semester for Ohio State, he needed to make a decision uh, last Monday, supposedly. But that was separate from the NCAA has a deadline for, from my understanding, for the fall sports of 2021. Um, there was a deadline, and I was thinking it was May 1st, but it was.
Well, that's going to kick off actually. It's going to kick off next year. This year, the deadline, the spring sports and the fall sports deadlines are all going to be the same this year at
So
July 1.
so they're this year. So next year it is May 1.
Yeah, next year will be
Okay.
May 1.
Hey,
Mm.
you gotta ask. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I got to hand it to the young man and Philip.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew it was. I knew there was a May deadline. I just didn't know if they gave it. Sometimes the NCAA gives a kickoff. Well, the big question, Pat, becomes: does Tua know anything about the SEC, or is he so locked in Alabama that if they rule that you can't transfer league, intra league? Um, is he wouldn't.
I think back in the day has been doing his homework and that Coach Saban knows what the answer's going to be with the SEC also. And there you go, Mark.
I'm
Now my question is, does he let some more come to Alabama? or whether it's Harris or whoever it is, does affect us more for 2021 comes to Alabama.
Mm, good question.
All right, what do you think,
Good,
Matty?
good.
Pass?
Thank you,
All right,
Pat. Appreciate it. Well, like to invite you to get in on the conversation. We were just talking about Henry Tua, the linebacker from Tennessee, headed to the Crimson Tide. Should we read anything into his decision to go ahead and commit to the Crimson Tide regarding the SEC and intra squad transfers? Um, we will see if that means anything. We can have that conversation. Also, what's some of the pros and cons of Tua coming to Alabama? What's the pros? What's the cons of getting a talent like Henry Tua? Of course, definitely more pros than cons, you would think. But are there any cons? There may not be any cons in terms of that decision. I'd like to invite you to the table to discuss it right here on the Martin Houston Show, 205 342 9904. The Taco Casa hotline open for business. Want to remind you as we go to break here about Overflow Express Wash. Overflow Express Wash. They have now opened their second location over in Northport. Stop by and see Andy Phillips and his team at either the Northport location or the Tuscaloosa location located down off of Skyland Boulevard. We want to remind you that they will help you get your car clean inside and out, give you that showroom clean feel, and then you can not feel but look, and then you can stop by the free vacs and clean it out and have that showroom clean inside and out. That's Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com.
At Northport Auto Supply, we understand there's nothing that a dead be sure you periodically check your battery, including the terminals for corrosion. And if you ever need help, then come by Northport Auto Supply and let our knowledgeable professionals check your batteries for free. Northport Auto Supply has the area's largest inventory of batteries in stock, and we'll even install it for you at no charge. Northport Auto Supply. Wow. Handsome Nissan Tuscaloosa has a great supply of new cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock, and we're ready to find them new homes today. With offers like this, the hot new 2021 Nissan Kicks starting at only $19,990. And Pathfinders and Muranos discounted up to $5,000. Wow. And yes, Handsome Nissan wants that trade-in. We'll pay top dollar for it. And with pre-owned units starting at only $10,990, that's savings, folks. And yes, we have plenty of Frontiers and Titans in stock. You and Townsend Nissan, that's the makings of a great car deal. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather. The sky will stay mostly cloudy. We'll maintain the chance of a few passing rain showers today and tonight. The high today 73, tonight's low 57. Tomorrow, cloudy and mostly today. Rain more likely tomorrow night, the high 74. I'm James Field, the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith has South Park Design Group of Business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas. They'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at southmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show, and we're able to do this each and every day thanks to the great folks over at Alabama One. Alabama One won together. Bigger, better savings is big dreams, bigger, better savings. Let us hear from you over at Alabama One if you're in the market for a mortgage and or auto sale, purchasing that new auto, maybe getting a toy for the spring, RV, boat, motorcycle, ATV. Doesn't matter. We can lend the money to you. Go to alabama1.org and find out more information about the great mortgage promotion as well as all our other great products and vertical services. And once you get that vehicle, my team at Alabama One Insurance would love the opportunity to insure that vehicle. We'll tell you more about that later on in the program. It's now time for us to continue the conversation. We were talking about Henry TuaTua and his transfer to Alabama, pros and cons. Should you read anything into it? Does he know something? Or is he just sold on the best opportunity, even if he has to sit out a year, being that Alabama versus Ohio State versus any other school is the ticket and the opportunity that he is pursuing. Let's bring in Curtis Lewis. Curtis Lewis, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning there, Mark.
Good morning.
I think Alabama has been told, as well as a lot of other teams also in the SEC, been told what the vote's going to be on that deal. So Toa can go ahead and make it, Alabama, because I don't think he would have made that move if it would have been the opposite, as far as him having to sit out before he could play by this year. So I think he's been told that he's going to be cleared to play. But I do think we're going to see a few more. I would say about 3 or 4 more guys on Alabama's staff that's going to leave this particular season. And I think that's going to be because we are over the limit at this point with Toa coming in and possibly JT out of Washington coming. If he's going to come, I think there is room for him to come too. But I think to see about at least 3 more guys leave Alabama before the season kicks off.
Yes.
We're going to have to make that room to get down to the number 85 scholarships plus the 2 of the guys that's going to be over on super seniors with Owens and B-Raw being on the team at this point.
Yeah, you know that I two things there. I think that one, either they know that they're gonna make that rule, or they're gonna give a waiver this year. You know, like the May 1st date is really the date, but they're giving you till July this year. I think the intra squad thing. I think that they may do a waiver for this one season, but I do believe that the SEC is going to look and may hold on to that. The question becomes, I guess, Curtis, if they make a rule that don't allow it, which one's worse? Having players go within your league and stacking Alabama and Georgia and A&M, maybe LSU, a few teams like that, or having players leave your league altogether. Which one's worse? And that's what I think that's what the battle is which one's worse? Would you rather those players transfer from Tennessee to Alabama, or you rather Mr. Tua end up in Columbus?
Well, I don't think that SEC is going to make a rule that's going to put the league at a disadvantage in the country. So I don't see how they're going to possibly make it where you can't transfer in a conference in the SEC or to the SEC, because that puts at a disadvantage with the ACC and with the Pac-10, the Pac-12. I don't think they'll do that. I do believe that with so coming in, he will eventually be the starter at that position, and Moody will be again put back on the back burner. That's understandable because Moody's been there 4 years now, and if you
Five.
kind of made your way into the starting role at that point, you're probably not gonna make your way in the starting role with a player like so coming in.
Well,
He is a class act coming into the program, and he's gonna give us something that Golden couldn't give us, which was a bona fide start at that position at middle linebacker.
well, and I don't know that. Would Moody have held off a couple of the guys that's here. I mean, that's kind of a question. Would Kennedy, who looked the part in the spring game, just young, but good gracious, does Tua make Alabama all of a sudden though? Are we talking with all the depth they have at defensive line and outside linebacker, and undoubtedly Kool-Aid and company came in with a vengeance, because all you have to do is look at who's transferring out to tell you what you have in the young guys. Okay, so where have the guys transferred out? DB and inside linebacker. I mean, in linebacker, that kind of tells you where you have some young studs coming along. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, Curtis. Because when I look at the guys who are transferring out, I'm going, okay, maybe Demore Kennedy and Jackson Bratton showed enough that Caho and others are like, well, I'm not going to play here, so I might as well go because those guys are going to leap me. And then the same thing with two DBs in a week heading out in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and I think that those guys that transfer out, especially in the DB, they're not going to be able to score long because you got guys
Right.
that will be clamoring to get these guys in the Power Five that's coming from Alabama out of Nick Saban's tutelage. They're going to love to get those guys in their program, but they're going to be instant playmakers at those positions. Say like at an Ole Miss or at possibly any Power Five school that needs DB.
Well, that a guy that we forgot that left here, that ended up getting drafted this year, played DB at UCF, Aaron Robinson, a name I had totally forgotten. And then I'm like, what do I know that name? He went, I think he was a mid-round draft pick from UCF this year. So, yeah, you're going to take an Alabama DB in a heartbeat, I think.
Oh yeah, and I think our wide receiver core is going to be decent. I do believe on that side too, because we got two guys coming in with JoJo Earl coming in, and the other kid, I can't remember the other kid's name, but those
Uh,
guys are definitely going to be bona fide stars coming in at that speed level.
yeah.
There's not going to be surprises. We're gonna have at least 3 or 4 more guys, and we got to get down to the number.
And I.
So you know who they are.
We will pick up a conversation because you bring up a point that I think the NCAA has to address, and I got Robert waiting, so I'm gonna let you go. But Curtis, think about this. Think about this. They're gonna have to give a range for scholarships if they're gonna allow this free willy transfer. In other words, they're gonna have to give a range. You can have 85 to 90, but you can't have over 90. You know what I mean? Like to me, they're gonna have to do that, or it's impossible to do roster management. Um, it's almost sort of like a version of the NFL having 53, but having a practice squad. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to do something that helps these teams be able to manage this roster thing, and I think that's the way you do it. You may have to declare some guys over to like a practice squad type, and then those guys may transfer out, and that gets you back down to your 85. But they can stay and be over. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to have to do something to give this, especially if they're talking about adding more games on top of this. So.
Oh yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get it worked out.
Uh,
Appreciate it, boy.
Hey, by the way, somebody wanted to shout out to you. Shane Lee, maybe Shane Lee and Lawson are going to be linebacker. One of them might be gone. Shane Lee might be gone. All right. Have a good one, Curtis. All right. Thanks. Let's bring in Robert from Mobile. Robert, you in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
It's amazing, Martin. Every morning he threw out the smoke. You want this where you want college football to go? Okay, you asked for it, and
Yeah.
he's destroying it with every rule change they make that he wants.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I tell somebody, I said, listen, you have to understand this man. Not not talking about. I think he is a man that when he sits down in those homes, he speaks the truth to these players, and that's why you see so many guys come here and stay and wait their turn because he tells them up front they're going to have to wait. But he has warned against so many rules, and then he turns around. He warned against the offensive rule. He with the players going down the field. He's like, okay, if that's the way y'all want to do it, and in one class, he goes from a defensive team um, with Jalen to one of the best defensive teams and loses by 1 point to a class later, and he's winning by setting records on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, yeah, you know, one of his other rules, he used to ask for 9 SEC games. You know, he used to always say, "I want 9 SEC games," and now he's changed it to 10. The reason he changed it to 10, I think, is because he knows that they'll come back and compromise on 9, and he gets what he wants. But you're right. He warned them that the rich will get richer. And you know, so far, think about the switch right now, the trade off. He lost Williams, Turnage, Ben Davis, and Ollie Cahoe. We would think we may have lost Robert. You can call back in. Yeah, absolutely. That's okay. It happens. But let's go ahead and get the break since we were having that conversation in case he calls back in. Joe, we'll go ahead and go to break here and coming back on the other side. We'll talk about Nick Saban has warned that this is what's going to happen. He's maximizing it. Let's hold off that conversation to the other side. If you want to get in on the conversation, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business.
I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99 going up to $39.99. In other words, it's double the regular premium package. Drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Charlotte Boulevard, right next door to Alabama One, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. And it's your look forward to making you a part of that.
Porter's the one I picked out. She's going to be so surprised to get this. You're satisfied.
Maxwell said that everything rises and falls here. And Coach, what you said is what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talk, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. If you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalk35.com, that's peptalk35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We're back in. It's the Martin Houston Show, and we're doing this Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. because of the great folks at Alabama One Insurance. It's a team that I get to lead each and every day. Alabama One Insurance, your one source for all your insurance needs. Go to alabamaoneinsurance.com, alabamaoneinsurance.com. You can put all your information right there on the website and request a quote, and we'll call you back with that quote. You can get it done. Hey, we're COVID-19 equipped. You don't have to even come into our place of business. We can do it all electronic, digital format. So Alabama One Insurance, here to serve you. We shop it for you. Over 16 plus carriers of various types. That's Alabama One Insurance, your one source for all of your insurance needs. All right. As we were there on before the break, we were talking to Robert from Mobile. Robert has called back in, so we'll get him right back into the conversation. Good morning, Robert. Welcome back in, man. How you doing, sir? That's okay. It happens. I've heard Tua Tua and I've heard Toa Toa. Joe, what's your take on it? So I have no idea. It's Toa Toa Tua Tua T-O apostrophe O T-O apostrophe O and then a bunch of other letters. so yeah, we'll I call him Henry. That's a fun name. Henry! Welcome to the Tide, Henry. I'm looking for a Smith and a Jones. Yeah, absolutely. uh,
One thing he's bringing that we haven't seen in a long time is a high motor at five. The guy all over the field, constantly in every play. And this is
yeah.
it's something that was great from our line. Well, I really haven't seen that.
I,
That's what you kind of complained about Moses. It was, man, I could several minutes when no one called your name at all.
yeah.
You almost got on defense. That was a huge problem.
I think one of the potential, I said pros and cons. One of the potential cons is just the chemistry and him working himself into the program. If he's ruled immediately eligible, that's a potential con. But a potential pro, and this is the question I have for you: Does this benefit from a projecting forward standpoint? how much does this help Christian Harris? I mean, is Henry Toa, is he going to be the play caller? Is he is I mean, think about that. I mean, he has that high motor already. I think Christian has that high motor. I think Christian has just had more on him, and we've really not seen this kid. And the other part, I don't know if you know this, Christian Harris. This is only his. This will be his third year to play linebacker. He was a DB, a quarterback, all this. He didn't play inside linebacker in high school, so we really don't even think about it. This kid walked on campus in the summer, okay, of his freshman year, and won the starting job after Dylan went down with a couple weeks of practice at a brand new position. So he played all season last year and had no spring practice. Okay, he played his freshman year, no spring practice. Then he plays another. So this past year was his first spring to really be coached at linebacker. And now he gets a guy who may have as higher motor as he does, if not higher, who may also be able to take some of the play calling off of him.
Yeah, like Nick Saban constantly said, he doesn't pick any of the leaders of the team. Right? You all know playing against the players.
Right.
Someone always refers to the young. That's what they no matter what you're talking.
Right.
So it's Christian can maintain this role at the outset. He'll be tough. Like these are kind of lead Christian Harris. That at this point I can't see Toa great at all. So I'm sure he'll come in there. Just want to because right now Toa's going to come in happy to be there, but that they're happy to be there. Regret that he made the mistake.
Not. Yeah. He. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How they're going to go. And I don't know if he changes that, stop him or slow him down or what happened. But it's like guys just play right into the thing. If your whole goal was to slow down the Alabama, you have a chance with slowing it down, keeping it kind of style of play you can comfortable with. But it gave you a chance. Now you got him into let me get a good quarterback and or an elite quarterback for a track. Now we're tracking a good quarterback. Well with the top. Really want this to go.
Well, and here's the scary part. What if we're really good on defense and he has the offense going? So that's the part we hadn't seen yet. And if any coach figures out that riddle of how to have an elite defense with an elite offense, I believe it's Nick Saban that can do that, Robert. And with the addition of Henry Toa, then you may very well have a guy that brings that seal together. And it's going to be fun to watch, interesting to watch. And here's what I say: whether Moody wins the job, or Kennedy wins the job, or Henry wins the job, it means that we're going to be really stout at inside linebacker, because that's that. I mean, go ahead. Right. 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 Yep. So, well, Robert, I appreciate it, man. You bring up a great point. They better quit making rules to try to stop Nick Saban, because all Nick Saban does is take the rule change, figure out how to deal with it, and produces the best ever at whatever the rule change was meant to stop. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right, George, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
I'm doing good, Martin. Just a few comments. I really appreciate you taking my call. Getting back to Saban and the rules. Remember, what was it, 4 years ago when he was saying that high temp fastball type offense was not safe, and
Yep.
everybody said, "Well, oh, he's just saying that so because he can't cover it." Well, now look what's happening. They're wanting to decrease the number of contacts in the summer training because of safety. So there again, the foresight and the vision of Saban is he's always ahead of the game. Another thing, Martin, you can answer this when I'm through making comments. Who's going to pay for the scholarships if somebody wants to come back? And also, here again, if you're at Alabama and you're into your sophomore and junior year and you're not playing regularly, now there are some exceptions. Do not get me wrong, but normally with the influx of talent we have, you're not going to play a whole lot. So really, this falls into Saban's hands because he brings in a ton of talent every year, and it just gives us scholarships. So brings in new talent with somebody who isn't going to play that much. Another comment I wanted to make was at first I was kind of against bringing in Henry T because we had so many freshmen that looked good in the spring. But if they do decrease the amount of the amount of hits and contact you can have, that experience for someone who does not need that much fall camp for hitting, that's going to be incredibly helpful to us.
And
Also,
let me clarify one question and make sure so I can address it. You said who's going to pay for the scholarship if a kid wants to come back? What scholarship are you referring to?
the super senior.
Oh, you talking about the
Yeah.
like Brian Robinson?
Yeah. Well, not so much as him, but the ones where the NCAA said that if you were a senior last year and we're going to give you a free, we're going to let you not count.
Yeah, that's Brian Robinson.
This year.
Brian Robinson is a guy that played 4 years of eligibility, and this typically he would have had to leave last year after this past season. So he's one of those guys. Okay, all right. And you said you had one more question. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Again, at first I was against bringing in Henry T because I do think that maybe one or two people that were not going to transfer are going to transfer. But as Nick Saban said, this is going to be our youngest team we've had in a while, and maybe that added experience is a plus. So I'm kind of wavering to I'm glad we got Henry T mainly because we got him, and I got a whatever Saban does, I want. But I think the hitting part of it and also the experience is going to be a really good plus. And he also, people you remind me of, he kind of, I saw him play when we played Tennessee in a couple of other games, but he kind of reminds me of Dante Hightower with that motor, and also he can cover, he can hit, and he can rush the passer, which is invaluable.
Yeah.
Those are my comments, and again, thank you so much, and I enjoy your show every morning.
Thanks, George. Appreciate your patience, and we'll answer your questions on the other side. If you want to comment on George's question regarding Henry To'oTo'o, he gave us a couple of pros and what he thought was a con. Now he sees as a potential pro and positive to Mr. To'oTo'o coming to the Crimson Tide. So we will talk about that as well as look at the scholarship issues that are facing. And Nick Saban, once again, he just proves the world wrong or proves himself right, whichever way you want to look at that. We got one more quarter to get in. We'll do that right after this break.
Tide 100.9 traffic. From the town to Nissan Traffic Report. Wrecks on this Monday morning out both ways. Get wet after overnight rain, so just slow down and be careful. And if you can't see clearly, just give us a call.
on the Tuscaloosa thread. Good morning. Just what caused that fatal multiple car accident at the intersection of McFarland Boulevard and Settlement Parkway is still under investigation. One person died, several were injured, including a state trooper. The intersection was closed for hours, creating extensive road congestion as traffic was rerouted while the accident reconstruction team worked. In sports, Alabama lost 2 games to Vanderbilt over the weekend. The Sunday game was washed out due to severe weather. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. Don Hartman, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa. Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show. I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your landscape stand out from your neighbors, Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curve series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Help with that as well. Offer and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. If you tell them Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving LLC.
Cheap Freedom Days and the Rant Spotlight Sales Event are on now at Carlock CDJR of Tuscaloosa. It's your chance to take advantage of amazing new car offers. If you've been thinking about trading in your car, now is the time. Trade values are approaching all-time highs, fueled by a strong automotive market and a shortage of quality used vehicles. As a result, your car is likely worth more than you think, a lot more, and quite possibly more than you owe on it. Get top dollar for your trade and big deals on new cars this month at Carlock CDJR of Tuscaloosa.
If you're in HR, you're probably wearing a lot of hats. Recruiter, team builder, trainer, mediator, policymaker, and of course, paper pusher. But not anymore. Bamboo HR is the #1 HR software for small and medium businesses. It manages all your employee data easily and automates countless tasks, so you can focus on people, not paperwork. Bamboo HR frees you from spreadsheets, so you can do your real job, creating a great place to work. If the data shuffle and paperwork mountain have you ready to hang up all your hats, you're ready for Bamboo. If you handle HR records and paperwork, Bamboo HR is a dream. Let us free up your time and put your days of pushing paperwork behind you, so you can focus on the people and making your company a great place to work for everyone. Try PC Magazine's top pick for HR software free today. Just go to bamboohr.com/panda. This is a limited offer only available to radio listeners at bamboohr.com/panda. That's bamboohr.com/panda.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Stay tuned for great radio happening all day long, each and every day, right here on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9. You can also go to the website, Tide109.com, and get great sports stories. Also follow Tuscaloosa Thread as well. For the Martin Houston Show, it's been a fun Monday. We've been talking about Coach Nick Saban, and we really didn't get too much into the Jimbo Fisher conversation. We can get back to that as we move throughout this week. But we did talk about this recruiting deadline and how they're going to handle it, pros and cons of the transfer. Curtis Lewis saying that Mr. Henry Toa coming in is a positive for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Robert from Mobile saying that he brings a motor that we haven't seen in a while. He is definitely a guy who is going to challenge the status quo, meaning the guys who are on campus. Curtis Moore II saying Shane Lee and Lawson will battle for the position. Will Kennedy, will Jackson Bratton, will they battle for the position, or will it be Henry Toa after a limited time, and we had George coming in and asking some questions regarding the scholarships. I'm assuming that the NCAA is giving a waiver for the amount of those scholarships. I don't know if they're going to let them have above the number or not. Joe, you may know the answer to that question. Um, uh, Whether or not they're making them get back down to the 85, or will the seniors that's coming back get an extra year? I mean, do you get them as an extra allotment for the scholarships in the likes of the B-Robs of the world? I would assume that they're going to let you have more than 85 with those guys, because they did not cut back the number of guys you could sign this year, which tells me that there's a waiver for this year at least on the number of scholarships being potentially over the 85, as we had potentially last year. I mean, with this upcoming year, we will see how they handle that. Joe, do you have any insight on whether or not those guys are counting toward the 85 or not?
We haven't heard yet whether they'll count against the 85 scholarships or not, but I would assume that they would kind of be free
Uh,
not count against them
Right,
based off what happened with softball and with
right,
baseball. In this past spring, those players kind of didn't really go against any scholarship limits
right.
in this past spring sport. So if they're going to keep it consistent with some players or no, I would assume that the Brian Robinson and Chris Owens of the world will not count against the 85 scholarship limit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking as well. And that's why I also think, Joe, that we may find ourselves in a scenario moving forward where they give them a range of scholarships to handle that. Because you have right now, you now have created this where Alabama has a couple guys that stayed that push you over the limit, and the impact it has on the other guys you're signing. So I would not be surprised if there's not a rule that allows a range of players to manage that, because that's not going to go away. Every year you're going to have guys, potentially more guys than you would have normally had on scholarship until they cut that out. Uh, and then I also think with the transfer rule that it just going to help the coaches with roster management. So we'll see. I don't know. NCAA never does what I think they should or would do. I think that George brought up a couple good points with Henry's addition uh, to the team. Henry brings experience uh, for a young team, even though our defense is not young. One of the things you will find is leadership, and true leaders lead both sides of the ball. Of course, a lot of times it's a lot easier for the quarterback to be that type of leader, but I also think that it can be done from a defensive standpoint. His addition to the team will there be less hitting? I don't know if Nick Saban's going to go with less hitting this fall or not. I have heard coaches say that they're going to do less hitting. I understand it, like on the FCS and the other schools that played in the spring, but I don't know that that's necessarily a requirement on the side of the Division I schools that played in terms of big boy football in Division I. Before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to the women's softball as they will be hosting the SEC tournament. We'll talk more about that, but that's going to be kicking off the first pitch on tomorrow, and we'll go through that schedule. But the Rhodes Stadium hosting the SEC tournament. So there's going to be a lot of really good softball happening in Tuscaloosa over the next couple of days. So make plans if you can to get out and see them. And remember, come back tomorrow at this same time, 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show will be here. And we're glad to have you. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, and have a blessed day, guys.
You've been listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for
You too.